It is 1:15 on January, the morning of January the 25th, 2025. A little talk. Yesterday was a wonderful day for me in Grenada, and the day before was just as wonderful. The day before yesterday, I fulfilled a dream that I had. You know, in this life, we often have dreams, things that we want to do before we leave this earth, before Papa God calls us home. And so, the day before, I walked from Belmont to Cherry Hill and then to the Point area. It was, to me, an easy walk. A walk I could not, and when I'm telling you this, please believe me, a walk I could not have done around the year 2017, in the year 2017, around the April month, because it was then that I had serious heart problems. But I have told the story often. I wouldn't repeat it again. Just to say that Papa God saved my life. Papa God saved my life. And when I walked effortlessly from Belmont to Cherry Hill and beyond, I felt very, very good and thankful to God. Now coming on to Cherry Hill, the very first place I lived in Grenada. And I made a video. I gave the story of a woman called Miss Ferguson, who on the night when Hurricane Janet struck Grenada, she opened her doors. And I recalled, because vivid in my mind still, was the time during the night of Hurricane Janet when my brother George held me in his arms to take me to Miss Ferguson's house on Cherry Hill, and we were saved. But I wanted to go back to that spot. You know, it's just like the song Cuando Salí de Cuba, when the guy was reflecting on life in Cuba. Just so I had a dream, and I wanted to do so before Papa God called me home. So I went to Cherry Hill, and you might not believe it, but it was a feeling of nostalgia. Man, I felt as if I was back in time. I cannot explain it, and I know I'll never be able to explain it. But I had a feeling that I've never experienced before. Yes, Cherry Hill, where I remembered the smell of cashews roasting on Cherry Hill, and also the smell of pig pen. And I mentioned that, the smell of pig pen back in time. But it was like a spiritual awakening. I just can't explain it, so I'll just leave it there. But I felt that I was back in time. And I was thankful that I was able to pinpoint the house by the help of two men who were working on an old car on the hill, and they showed me exactly where the house was when Hurricane Janet struck. Because after all those years, I wondered if it was on the top side or the bottom side. Yes, they told me it was on the bottom side. The house is just a shadow of its former self now, but it's the side facing close to the sea. So I thought to myself, I said, what if the wind of Janet, because Janet was a classic hurricane with wind and rain and lightning and thunder and all that comes with a classic hurricane. It was not a mighty wind like Ivan. Janet was the classic hurricane. So it could have been different. We could have been washed down into the sea. And you know, the hill, Cherry Hill, the sea is right there, right beneath, you know. So just be washed into the sea. So much for that. So I was glad, happy, that I was able to walk from Belmont to Cherry Hill. Of course, when I came home, I decided to take a shower and take a rest, and I slept for a number of hours, thank God. Yes, now a few more thoughts. Grenada is a beautiful island. It so happens that when I lived in Grenada, I did not pay attention much to what I saw. At this point in my life, the mountain greenery, the trees that I see, the swash of waves beating against smoothing rocks, a crab hole, all have special meaning for me now. You see, when you live abroad, you get to appreciate your island more. Well, for me, yes. So when I come back here and I witness crabs darting to and fro on the beach, sand crabs that is, or birds on top of cows' back in woodlands, and when I see the seagull or the bird we used to call the scissor steel bird flying above the Carenage water, it has special meaning for me because it reminds me of my childhood days. And yes, speaking of childhood days, I meet so many people in Grenada who remember me because I've been coming back here. Many times I've returned to Grenada over the past, I would say, 20 years. I've returned to Grenada often, and I have established new friends, old friends, and Junior the Visigot. Many people look upon him as a stupidity. To me, he's not. He's a childhood friend, and I feel happy when I sit on a big stone in Grand Dance and speak with Junior the Visigot, because he was part of my childhood days. And so, yes, a few other observations. Now, there are many buildings in Grenada which point to our historic past. Buildings that either need a little fixing up or great fixing up. Building like the old Parliament building, the library in St. George. St. George's, the library there. That was a library that I used to go and study. I sat there, and thinking of it brings back fond memories. And I used to sit there, study for the GCE O-level examination, and then the A-level examination. So there are many things I remember there. I remember the Carnage and Rudolph, the restaurant, Portofino, and Nutmeg at its height. A nutmeg that made such a wonderful chicken snack. And you'll hear me use the word wonderful many times in my pieces because there are so many things in Grenada that is actually wonderful. So you'll hear that word repeatedly. Yes, the Carnage area. Now, so much for the buildings. I just believe that it will take time for the buildings to something to be done with them. I asked a question on Facebook, what should be done with those buildings? And I try to avoid the politics, come up with ideas that is devoid of political affiliation, just ideas. You can't be suggesting ideas or that which is beneficial, that is, for the island without getting into some political nonsense and this one and that one and who didn't do this and who didn't do that. Let's deal with the present and see what we can do, what suggestions that we can make to improve our little island. And so when I post videos, I do not single out anything. I will post and you will see the beauty. In fact, you will see the good, you will see the bad, and you will see the ugly. Because I just post what I see. I don't single out houses. If there's a pothole in the road and the pothole stands out, well, it's there to be fixed. And it's not about who didn't fix and who should fix and whatnot. The fact is, it exists. And here comes the rain. It's something I've been saying often. And again, my friends, I'm sitting here and, oh man, you cannot pay for this. To sit in Grenada and feel the cool sea breeze caressing your face. You feel it. You experience it. Oh, the sound of rain and the night creatures. Happy, perhaps, that the rain is falling. Just wanted to say, to talk about that as I sit here experiencing this. And I know many of you who are in England, in the United States, my friends in Brooklyn where I live, I know you have been talking about the cold weather. Well, it is not cold here, sitting here in Grenada. It's a nice night. The breeze is refreshing. And as I sit here, the feeling is just remarkable, pleasant, soothing to the mind, to the spirit. It will make you feel good. Well, you're experiencing the cold and people talk about climate change and snow falling here and there in places where snow do not usually fall. Well, there are some things in life that we just have to accept because we have no control over it. Absolutely no control. So we can actually deal with it. It is extremely cold. You put on layers of clothes. You put on layers and you dress to suit the coldness. So back to Grenada and back to thoughts. Children still say hello and call you Mr. This or Mr. That. That is wonderful. We tend sometimes to pay attention to the negative, a lot of negative things that will cause shock. But yes, if you look around, you walk on the streets of St. George's and Grenville, you walk in Sotés and Victoria, you'll find young people who are very, very kind. Yesterday, I was, not yesterday, 2 days ago, I have to be clear on time and date and so. I was in Frequente area, I came through that area, I came through the Limes, and I was on a street in GRENADA, and the rain started to fall. Yes, the rain started to fall. And I ran into a house nearby which offered me shelter, and I was there sheltering the rain. And a bus driver saw me. He saw me sheltering the rain. And he said to me, shouted, Daddy, 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 I go wait for you. I go wait for you. Come, come, come. And I ran to the bus. He opened the door. Sit in the front. I said I was not going far, so I sat in the front. But that was warming to my heart because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. He waited for me. So yes, sometimes we pay too much attention to that which is disheartening, that which does not uplift, that which creates a bad impression. But there are always things you will find that will create a good impression and uplifting and warming to the heart. So yes, just to re-emphasize the point, children still say good morning. A number of students from the Presentation Brothers College said good morning to me. And I felt good because somebody somewhere are teaching children to be respectful. And that is what I knew growing up in Grenada. Now, on another note, yesterday I was in Liverer. You know, there are images that often stick in the mind, and you'll pay attention to it. It will register. And one such image was that of my granddaughter Sophia in Liverer looking at Sugarloaf Island. And she stood there. She was barely 2 years old when she came to Grenada. And she looked out. She looked out to sea. And what I found was that the way she was looking out to sea, her stance, the way she looked out, it was just the same way that her grandmother, Sandra de Riggs, rest in peace, looked out to sea. The same way. So when I was on Liver Beach yesterday, I just had to make a video and send it to my son and ask him to play the video. So Sophia would hear. She may not understand fully, but it is out there in cyberspace, and she will look at that video after I'm gone. Because in life, we have to pass it on. And it is important that our children and our children should know about our experiences, our lives, and our ideas must not remain in solitary confinement in our heads. Let me just touch on another topic. Now, what I say it with a spirit of objectivity. I'm not overly critical of anything. It's just ideas that I might have, and I feel free to express. Now, Grenada, as I often say, and I repeat, constantly. It's a beautiful place. And we are encouraging tourists to visit the land. Tourism is big. But when you invite tourists to places like Lake and Twine, and you have a security guard sitting in an old little shack there, little hut, and no toilet facilities, I think we have to move beyond that and to create areas there that will be more encouraging to those who want to visit our beautiful spots in the island. A tourist in a car parked up near Lake and Twine, and the man wants to pee. Where do you want him to pee? You want to put him in the bush to pee? Now all these things will take time, but it's just an idea I have that we should pay a little more attention. And there are people who will listen to me and say, well, why you don't do it? I ain't have the money. If I win the lotto in New York tomorrow, I think I'll do that. But I ain't have the resources to do it. So all I have is ideas. And the potholes, we must be considerate. You will see in my videos potholes here and there, but remember there was a lot of rain last year, and the more rain that falls, you will see more and more potholes. And finally, the final thing I want to say is that everything in Grenada should not be political. Just as when I grew up in the days of GNP and Gary, not much have changed. Battles are fought every day on Facebook and other social media outlets. We gotta move beyond that and do not see everything as some kind of political confrontation. If an idea is good, accept it and promote it. That's all I have to say tonight. Anthony Wendell, the Riggs.